Hey Collective, and welcome back to the channel. It's Al. Today is Sunday Fun Day, and what that means for me today is a day of quiet. Normally I would do something kind of amusing for the Sunday Fun Day, but because of Friday's little tirade into the little switch that got turned on me when I was at the park, and the little three married gay men circling me on that particular incident that made me realize I'm in heat. I decided I would ground it a little bit and explain to you what happened after that post-heat moment. And essentially what happened is that yesterday something wasn't sitting right with me. And so I decided to go back to the beach and spend some more time to myself and trying to figure out what it was that was kind of irking me a little bit. And it wasn't anything that was bothering me. What it turned out to be was something that I think might be helpful to the collective. I just am not that same person anymore. And what I mean by that is, though there is a lot of options in the sea, I'm a man that's very much looking for the right person for me, an individual, one person. And I am in the marrying mode. I'm in the mode of trying to find someone that is at my vibration, and that's someone who's actually willing to do stuff for humanity, and it's willing to put their neck on the line sometimes to do what's right for the collective, for what's best for everybody, and bring balance to the world. And that really limits your pool. And so I realized that part of what was happening might have been a little bit of a test to see how I would react, and I think I did well because I found it really hysterical. But as you guys know, I'm still not engaging in anything with anybody until I find the right person. And it was a complete difference from who I used to be. And so I think what was not bugging me, but what was trying to get under my skin a little bit with it was the fact that I've grown. And it's something that a lot of the collective is encountering, is that yes, there are a lot of options for all of us, and now that the world is starting to slowly awaken and the things are starting to kind of move again, the one thing that we are not is the same. We're not the same people that we were. 2020 just destroyed that, and I was very lucky. I was already on I was in spiritual mission when that all went down. And I mean, I went from a lot of money to ground roots, homeless plight in California I didn't know anybody, and I did it on my own. It was a wonderfully brilliant experience. But the person who goes through that, the warrior that comes out of that, is not the same person that went into it. And so though I know that I can go and have sex, and though I know I can go and do whatever I really want, I mean, I'm incredibly gifted as a person, very blessed, that doesn't change who I am now, and the fact that I just have evolved and my vibration is super high. And so it brought about the question of, well, who do I date now? How does this work? And it was kind of a little bit of a tower moment, because in a very small way, in a good way, because it reminded me that I just can't date anybody anymore. It's not viability for me. It has to be someone who's exceedingly high vibrational. And so I was looking around and I was trying to figure out how that would go. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I needed that kind of higher guidance. And so I spent the day in stillness. And the stillness really helped me kind of come to a place where I understood what it was that was actually trying to get at me, and what the awareness was that was trying to find me. And so I was trying to connect with the energy, and it essentially was that, I need kind of a Michael to my Gabriel. You know what I mean? Like, I need somebody who really, really is high vibrational and finds humor a very, very good solution to most problems, and wants to raise the vibration of the people around them. And that's a really hard thing to find. And so I was thinking about like the people that I'm attracted to, and like I've said before, I mean, let's face it, most of them are straight, and there's one gay guy who's a reporter, and I find his integrity to be the most appealing. But it's very specific to one person. I was like, everybody has free will. That's kind of a limited pool. And so I realized I needed to ground my energy a little bit more. I'm not saying that it could never happen. I mean, I'm not ugly, and the person, he's definitely not ugly, but we're, one's in New York, one's in LA, and we don't know each other. So how do I then navigate the waters of the sea that I'm in? And so I was like, well, one, I probably have to move. No offense to LA, but there's a lot of disconnection with spirituality, and I don't want to make a generalization to such a degree, but there's a little bit of oddness here sometimes. And though I'm 100% very happy with being alone sometimes, the divine reminded me that I'm going to get carpal tunnel if I don't start getting on the ball here. And so as I was kind of chuckling, I turned to music. In stillness, what I find for myself is if I get to a place where I can't get any further on my own, where like just the lower extension of the soul gets to a point where I'm just like, well, I get what you're saying, inner monologue. I get what we're trying to figure out, but how do I do it? So I turn to music, and I put on YouTube music. and I don't have any endorsement with them or any relationship with them, but that's what I did. And I put on that wonderful station that I had Friday when I went into Heat, and and sure enough, it was that song. It was that same song that I wanted to share with you guys. The song that I mentioned in the original video of the Heat thing was where I said, "No one's this gay." I remember saying, "No one's this gay" when it started. It was when the three cocks were swimming, and I'm in the middle, and I'm just kind of like, "What is going on?" I told you there was a song that came on, and when it started, I had said, "No one's this gay," and then but the music's really good, and so with the environment that I was in, all of a sudden towards the end, I was going, "My hair, nails, beeps, beeps." It was Todrick Hall, and I had never heard the song before, and I was like, "Ooh, this is a good song," and I was like snapping, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I am that gay." But anyway, that's the song that came on. So that was the first song that came on again this time, and I thought, well, what are the odds? Because it's not like I programmed it into that particular into the YouTube thing. I don't even know how to do that on that channel, but it was really amusing that it was the same one. So I was sitting there and I'm like trying to figure out, well, how do I find my Michael to my Gabriel, you know, because like, let's face it, I have a lot of very powerful messages that come to me that speak on behalf of the divine universe, and it's about the collective, and it's all about things that are coming and being prepared and stuff like that. So I do kind of relate more to the Gabriel level of information. And I was like, but what attracts me is obviously like the Anderson Cooper, who's the warm Michael, or there's a straight guy out there that he knows who he is, but that is straight. And so I can't really like flirt with people who are straight, because it's really like a boundary crossing thing for me. Like, I can't, it's very rude in my opinion. I'm a very humble man, so I was just like, well, he's a brother in arms and great, but he's straight. So wall, right? And then Anderson Cooper, there's a thing there, and it's a wall. Okay, so how do we do what is it that I'm looking for? And sure enough, the divine must have been DJing again, because this very next song that came on was "I Need a Hero, Burning on to the hero," whatever that song. And I was just like, that doesn't really help. But I realized it was confirmation to what I was just thinking. So when you find your stillness, don't ever sell yourself short that there's not answers for you in the immediate vicinity that you are. Had I not turned on the music, I wouldn't have gotten the confirmation, and I could have kept going down my little spiral going, well, I don't know what I want, what do I do, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't. I just went to the music, and sure enough, the DJ was the divine, and it went from Todrick Hall to "I Need a Hero," and then I think after that, it was something by Pink. Anyway, so I had a very magical moment then, and I was like, okay, well, I guess it was confirmation that what I'm looking for in my life is what I was thinking, which is I need a Michael to my Gabriel. And so in that moment, I felt very empowered. But again, I was in a situation where I was like, well, shit, that's like maybe two people, one straight guy, one gay guy. And I'm like, what are the odds of these things working out? And I go, well, maybe pretty high. But what did I do after that is where the story is. What I did after that is I just enjoyed my scenery, and I kind of just sat in stillness. I didn't try to figure it out anymore. I was giggling over the DJing, and I was just enjoying the music. And I realized that I just need to be okay with letting it come to me, and letting that person, whoever it would be in the future or now, whatever it is, because there's still a weird energy that's out there that's like I'm feeling like I'm connecting to people, well, to a person in the ethers. And I say that because, like I said, I was minding my own business on the park bench, and though I saw the little three cocks of swimming, I wasn't interested until there was like a switch that went on, and I realized that energetically I must have been, my higher self went, and you're in heat. And I was like, ooh, and like, but I wasn't interested up until that moment. So it was like one of those trigger moments that came on, but not a negative trigger. So when I was sitting there and I was just relaxing myself, and I was like, well, okay, energetically, I need to bring this towards myself. So the solution that I would give to us as a collective is when you find yourselves in these ridiculous moments where, especially if you're going through a spiritual journey and you go through the metamorphosis and you turn out to be this butterfly and you flutter around and you're about to like really blow up, or, that your talents or that your gifts for the world are about to be acknowledged some way, shape, or form, then you suddenly have to be aware that your problems, quote unquote, which are opportunities, let's say your opportunities now grow, and so your challenges will now beget bigger and bigger things. And one of the things is finding a mate. And so in that moment, what it was is in the stillness, I was able to relax, and that's the most beautiful part of music, is that music will transport you from wherever you are emotionally and gives you a really quick opportunity to make the leap of faith, to jump. because then your vibration's higher again, and you're very happy, and suddenly you're in a different headspace. And so the problems, the opportunities, and in sheep's clothing that you're facing suddenly dissipate, and you find yourself in a much higher vibration. And so suddenly all of what I was concerned about just completely vanished. It was one of the greatest gifts of being still, is the fact that I just wasn't worried about it. Because it wasn't necessarily a problem to begin with, but it was trying to navigate what it is now that is happening within me and for me. And what it was at the end of it, as I was heading home, I realized that it's now about what I don't want then. And so I started to pay attention and to my environment, and sure enough, what occurred was there was a group of little straight kids. Well, not kids. I would say like they're in their 19s to 20s. Y'all, I'm at the age where I can say that they're old enough to be my children, and they were about 20-somethings, right? And they were kind of scooting around with each other. And the first group, I think it was 5 of them. And the first 2 that showed up really fast, full speed, were 2 straight guys, and they were ahead, and they were trying to figure out, like they were looking at a map or something, and they were trying to figure out which way to go. And behind them were 2 girls. Behind them came another more average-looking guy, but immediately caught my attention. And he pulled up quietly, minding his own business, and he got behind them, and he starts to look at his phone for a minute. And from behind him come 2 girls. Now they get to an embankment part where they have to lift those little scooters that they rent, and they have to bring it up onto the hill and pull it up. And the 2 guys that you could tell were the boyfriends, the alpha 2 males, the alpha and beta, were in the front, and they were so busy that they didn't notice the girls couldn't get the scooter up. And literally I watched as finally Alpha turns and looks at them and just goes back to what he's doing. And I'm like, motherfucker, get over there and help her. And sure enough, the one in the middle that was minding his own business, the more average looking guy, and I realized that he wasn't average, he just had his hat on so I couldn't see him. So he pulled his hat up so that he could see better, and I saw how beautiful he was. But what he did is what turned me on the most. He turned around and he went, oh. And he went and he helped both girls pull it up onto the embankment, and he pulled the bikes up for them. No, and I could tell that they weren't his girlfriend. Either one. And then he did it again for the second one. And I go, that's what I want. I want a gentleman. I want somebody who, no matter what, will open the fucking door for me. Yes, I'm a kick-ass motherfucker, and I will take care of the physical damage if I have to get in a fight. I'm going to be the guy. But when it comes to, like, gentlemanly things, open the door for me. Or, send me... I'm not really big on flowers because I turn out to be more like Margaret Cho, because I'm like trying to find a fucking big gulp somewhere in my house because I have no vases. But you know what I mean? Like something that's really sweet and something that's more humble. Like I'm a very humble person, right? And so it's something that's like more about just the thought that counts for me a lot of times. But it was in that moment that I realized that no matter what, I had not been turned on by the 2 first ones that came up. But what turned me on was the gesture that the one in the middle, who's not even in the dynamic with the other 2, with the 2 girls, that he was gentlemanly enough to go and help the other guy's girlfriends. And I thought, now that's the type of guy for me. And so what it did is it pointed me in a direction of what it is that I am looking for. And so I spent the rest of my time looking at that, and it was really, really amazing. It was one of those opportunities where I got to really think about, okay, well, they need to be very driven by humanity. They need to do things for the collective, and I want them to do their own charity work, and I want to have my own voice and my own program, and they can do their own thing. And then we can combine the 2 if we want, but there's a separation in personality and in identity. But I want them to care about humanity. I want them to be of the people, for the people, with the people. And so it makes it a lot more empowering. So yes, it may be more limiting in the scope of me being able to go out and pick just any random person. It gave me a personality type that this person should fill. And so then you factor in the humility and the fact that they're probably going to be a lot more outgoing than I am. I think when the camera's on, I'm on. Y'all know that as a bartender, it's something I learned. You leave your problems at the door, and the moment I walked behind the bar, I was on, and it was a show. So I'm able to do that. But as soon as my shift was over, and as soon as the camera goes off, I immediately go back to centered, and I spend more time with myself and stuff like that. And so I realize that for the other person, they're probably going to have more energy and all that. But I'm not doing it from a standpoint of limiting who is able to come towards me. I'm just aware of what works for me because of the stillness. And so what had become a problem earlier, I was like, well, I don't know what to do. This is a very limiting pool. And I was like a little stressed about it, to be honest with you. It became suddenly something very empowering because I realized that if I can name it, if I can put the indications of what I don't want, it led me to what I do want. And from what I do want, the universe can bring us what fits that bill, and it starts to attract those energies towards each other. So then I started to think about, well, I'm really big on eyes. I'm one of those people that the soul connection needs to be there, and I need to know that they see me, my warts and all, and still will love me. And so that's another thing. And then not have the pressure that we have to be in love. We can date and stuff like that. And so suddenly I found a full picture, and I realized that I was whole. And now I was able to put together a whole image or a whole ideology, a whole idea behind what it is that I'm seeking. And instead of it coming from a place of, well, I have to settle, it was from a place of, no, it's just it won't work with me anymore if I do settle. And so what was once maybe a little bit snobby and lower vibrational, now as a higher vibrational person, is just I can't deal with people who don't live in grace and gratitude. If they don't have gratitude for every single thing that they have, then I know vibrationally we're not going to match. And I know that if they lie to me, I'm immediately going to go, we're over. Like, it's not even going to be a question. And so it's about truth, honor, integrity, humility, respect, and love for the world. And so that type of full picture allows the right type of energies to start attracting to me. And sure enough, I thought, oh, that's a wonderful ending for a really great day. And so I had gotten really, really dark. And I was like, yeah. Because see, I'm one of those people who thinks that being dark in this world is a beautiful thing. I know, collective, that can be shocking to many of you who want to be as white as possible. But for the rest of us who are of color, we're quite beautiful when we express our plumage. And so I was expressing my plumage, but maybe a little bit too red, because like you can see. But my eyes look really pretty, so it worked out. But as I'm walking back, I sat to have a cigarette on a bench. And there was a homeless man that was next to me. Not next to on the bench, but like a couple benches over. And he was offended by the smoke. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm about giving people rights, not taking rights away. So I almost had, I told him, he told me to turn off my cigarette. And I said, excuse me, no. And I went, and out of nowhere, my higher self went, really? Does this really need your attention? And I went, oh, all right. And so I put out the cigarette, and I just finished sitting and listening to my music. And I got, and you know what was weird? I felt better about myself. The old me, that old Al, would have, motherfucker, who you talking? You know, the Louisiana boy, who's still there, in privacy. You can, you know, there's because someone tried to. Okay, let me finish the sentence. So I felt really good about that because it was like it wasn't a battle worth picking. And then I think it was like on my way home, a friend of mine had said something via text. He goes, you have this thing about swearing on your channel. I don't like it. And that's when the bitch came out. And I said, excuse me, there are 3 things about Louisiana men that you need to know. We say, buku, fuck you, and woo-woo. So why don't you fuck off and go woo-woo somewhere fucking else. Don't tell me how to speak when it's my channel. And he was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything. I'm like, yeah, you were trying to. And so that was a battle worth waging. And I thought it was very funny to me that I was okay with, like, the homeless guy asking me to put the cigarette out, even though that's probably more offensive or more annoying to people in the world these days where we're, like, already having so many rights taken away. But when it comes to what I say and who I am, I defended that shit real quick. And so I felt really positive with the day I'd had because it went through like a little peaks and valleys, but it was very much about stillness. It was about me just finding my own power, well, actually reestablishing my power and centering my energy. And so as I'm on my way home, there was a guy that I ran into who I thought was straight. And so as I'm getting off the train heading home, this guy walks up to me and he asked me out. And I said, no. And he said, why not? And I go, because you still have a girlfriend. And he said, well, she doesn't need to know. And I went, no, it's not my place to tell her, it's yours. But you're not dragging me into your low vibrational bullshit. And it made me very, 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 like, a little bit miffed, because I was like, well, that's not very honest. I mean, here's my thing. I actually have no problem with bisexual men. I think that's, I think the fluidity of sexuality is a very important thing for our world, and to express it is even more important. But when you lie to your partner about it, then, I found that to be a little bit of a lower vibrational thing. I'm not judging, but that's my personality, what my perspective is on it. Having said that, he had made a comment about, how come you never hit on me? And I was like, because I thought you were straight. And I was like, see, this is where things get a little dicey. Don't ever expect a gay man to be desperate and to start hitting on straight guys. It's not a sport for all of us. It's some of us are higher vibrational and will find the right match. We're not greedy for sex. And it made me understand that his understanding of gay men is that we're lower vibrational sex addicts, and that's all we do. And so I looked at him and I go, and the interesting part is I'm monogamous. I'm loyal. Once I meet my partner and once we agree to date, I don't sleep with anybody else. And here you are with this girl that I know you've been with for at least 2 years, and you're already dogging her and sleeping with men to surprise her. Yeah, we're done here. And bye, motherfucker, bye. I was like, ooh, and I had to calm myself down, because it's like one of those things. It wasn't like it wasn't that I was mad at the situation, because I don't judge people. It was the indignation that he had that I said no, as though gay men aren't allowed to say no. And I was like, ooh, I got some work to do on this planet. But notice how the day flowed, and it was a very interesting set of events. But if I wouldn't have been present, I wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on within each facet of the day. So collective, as you go out in your day, especially on a Sunday fun day, I'm going to go to Griffith Park today and go up top mountain, just mainly because I've been at the beach all day, and I know I'm going to be in the sun over there, but it's not as strong. So I'm just going to go and exercise and enjoy my day, and I think that's really powerful for all of us. But I wanted you all to know the wonderful fullness of the stillness that happens when you are alone and you're able to actually find information from outside sources immediately and understand how it communicates to you and can be helpful. And that's all I wanted to say. I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday fun day. I hope this one made sense, but it's one of those things that I just thought it would be more inspiring to just center your energies and focus on you if you want today. And really ask yourself, as higher vibrational people, what is it that you don't want? And what is it that you do want? And then allow them to show up. Because I basically looked at it this way. If I'm looking for my Michael and to my Gabriel, then he's going to have to ask me out. That's the only way this is going to go. Because I have a way of putting myself out there and to be very honest and sincere, because I'm all about transparency. But I also don't want to alienate the right person if they are ever interested down the road. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm going to kind of pull back on that a little bit and just, yeah, I'm in heat. But I'm in heat for the right person. And so I'm exceedingly loyal, and so I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm a hoe, because it's nothing rewarding there for me. I'm looking for that connection that the eyes do with each other, and that their life paths can create something great. But I wouldn't have gotten all of that if I hadn't spent the day yesterday and just zenning myself out and kind of looking at the environment and dealing with the topics that came about. There's always connections between things throughout your day. You'll notice that there's a theme that will kind of come out from it, and it's one of those things that if you're not present for it, you won't always understand how they interconnect with each other. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Find the connections. The life is a rainbow connection, as Kermit would say. And so what is it about these rainbows that you're seeking, and how do you connect yourself to the right one to make the full arch? Or a whole one, actually. That's even better. 2 rainbows that come together and make a whole circle rainbow is quite rare. That's it, guys. Bye.